So I'm following the function call for loading animations currently. Let's add some comments to tidy this up. Is it a map? No. Model new might be a structure. Yeah. Shout out my friend joining us. Just looking why have things frozen on Twitch. Okay. Structure. Now we mesh new ID. I'm not sure what the mesh new ID is used for, I can say that much. Line 60. So then we create a single mesh. So as we go through individual meshes, they're associated with the number of the parent mesh. So if you have a house, there'll be multiple meshes: the door, the windows, the foundation. There might be a tree in the garden. These are all different meshes in a 3D model, but they might all be mesh one. So the door will have ID 1, the window will have ID 1 as it draws and breaks them down. But why do we do that? Why do I do that? I mean, clearly at some point or somewhere I want to know. Maybe for the copy constructor. Which may have been here, maybe. I don't know. Mesh new. When you generate a copy constructor, you're telling C++ how to assign, almost, how to duplicate something. That's you use a custom class, basically. Like if you have two strings, someone's first name, then you change it. You say their first name now is this first name. It knows how to copy a string from one assignment from right to left. But with a mesh new that we invent, we have to tell it how to do that. Get off my stream, a little fly. Where's the... Maybe normalization is not working. It's just amazing how fast LLMs are, ChatGPT, to be honest. The uniform effectively toggles between animated and static processing, yep. You correctly calculate the weighted bone transformation, okay. Which is... yeah. Hey man, welcome back. We were the people looking it up, yeah. I first started coding over 20 years ago, and I had a book on C, and I only looked at C for a month, maybe less, and I just got stuck on how to do a function. I didn't understand the parameters and the brackets, and there was no YouTube, so I was just stuck, and then I just gave up. I thought this is beyond me, and then when I came back years later with YouTube, it took me 1 minute to understand it. Yeah. You got it. It's like Bane said, I was born in the darkness. We came from them rough times. Handling normals. This might help. Just get on the journey with coding. So I started, let me get a link. I'll show you where I started. So I started with, you might have heard of SFML. It's a library, like an API. For 2D graphics, so 2D games. Let me show you. I think I can bring this into the screen. Yeah, here we go. So I made a 2D game with this Go full screen. Yeah. So I drew my own city. Let's have a look. And then I coded animation. 2D animation was easy. Oh, compared. But this is how I learned to code. Let me find a better video. To be honest, if I live streamed this, I would have got some good engagement because it was really fun. But it was like a 2D simulation of a world, basically. Because if you learn to code now, it can be a while till you get good results. Until like your game has got like anything to show, basically. I think there's some trams moving in the background and stuff like that. And it was this project, so it started to get really big, and I thought, actually, I need to make. There's a wheel. I need to make something 3D. I just learned quite a lot. But all the shops were like the Starbucks and so on. Everything was where it was in my city. There's a little map at the top I coded. It was quite the passion project. I'll give it a like. I've got worse. Can you hear me okay? I'm just not sure if I've got a problem on my side. Yeah. Yeah, an extra dimension just changes the maths completely and quickly. Although, like, I think a 2D simulation, I think there's a lot of space for a 2D simulation because nobody really does it. It's very fun. Hmm. Code in the cube. Yeah, yeah. The problem with my channel is because I encounter a lot of bugs. It's just I don't always get to demonstrate the engine. Let's try and do that now. I really enjoy the project. Oh, that's a shame. So I was just getting there that you see there's a car on the top of the screen. I was loading in some models and I thought it wasn't working, but they was just above me. So probably everything else was as well. Actually, it's just 4 a.m. here and I just couldn't sleep. And I thought, I'm not really going to achieve anything on a live stream for an hour when I'm stuck on this. But I just find it a lot of fun. And tomorrow I'll go to the city and buy a coffee or a red wine and rewrite some code. Okay, so here we go. I believe this is you will see. It's going to be underneath. Is my shader in? Yes. And they have different lights as well. What's the green? Why is it going like that so bad? Yeah. I'm in England. Come on, little Homer. So what's your next step then? What's your next move? As far as learning? King bent pins. I remember I spent a lot of money on a new build a PC, and the motherboard, no, the case didn't turn up. It was like stolen in delivery. So I built a PC in a motherboard box, and when I put the processor in, I bent it, and it was the wrong way around. I don't know what happened, and I bent about 200 pins, and then I had a panic attack, and then also blew up the GPU. I think it was a 2080 Ti, so it's like I destroyed like £1,000 worth of equipment, but I got it all replaced. I told AMD, and they just gave me a new one, and then the GPU was just replaced. That was wild. and then I got a new case. What games do you play? Do you do much gaming? I'll show you the course that I did. That's how I learned to code. Yeah, my uncle just ordered one of those. He ordered a 99, but it was delayed, so we thought, well, if it's going to be delayed, he might as well get the better one that's delayed. My brother just got it. I don't know if I told you earlier, I told somebody earlier. I think he was around. I'm on a laptop. It's like a 6800HS AMD. So I don't really know what that is. I mean, it's probably like from that Intel 1200 era, but a laptop version. Maybe even a 1300. My last desktop was a 12900K, which was really nice. Maybe 18 months before what you've got. Yeah, but you won't need them. Well, it depends really. Like when my uncle got the 9900, I said, look, it's not as good for gaming by maybe 5 frames, 15 frames max, which isn't as much these days when you're doing 150 frames. But I said, but you've got cores, and I told him I probably would prefer the cores myself. And if you've got I don't know anyone who does this, and I forget the name of the technology, but I think I did it with Linux. But you can now, I think it was Nvidia there was a thing where Nvidia wouldn't allow it on the GPU on all of them, but you can have one PC and you can split the RAM, and I don't know the language, but basically you can run 2 PCs out of one build, and you can have 16 cores for one PC, 16 for another, 2 screens, 1 keyboard and mouse. But you can also split your GPU as well, and things are that fast now. You could basically have, if you've got a 4000 series GPU with that machine, you could just run 2 PCs out of one PC, 2 operating systems, and it's not hard to do. I've done it. Yeah, but I think it was one GPU, then a dedicated GPU. So I had Linux on one and Windows on the other. So if you're a family man, if there's kids around or a parent, you can sort of have 2 builds in one, legitimately. But you're just having a headache for a week setting it up. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT. Let's see. No, Windows. So this would be. It's not through a VPN, so Windows wouldn't be able to block it. In fact, they wouldn't even know. It's done in like your boot configuration before that. I'm pretty sure. I need water. 2 secs. Yeah, there's no way Windows have blocked a double boot. There might be a double boot within Windows Boot Manager that they've blocked, but your boot partitions, that's Windows comes after that. But I want to see. I'm not doubting what you're saying, but I think we're talking about two different things. What is the tech called where you split your GPU and CPU into two PCs within one? And video recently allowed it. Last 2 years. Yeah, that's it. GPU pass through. So this would, you'd enable this, I think, in your BIOS. That's for the GPU. You might already know. I'd forgotten the name. Yeah. I don't doubt what you're saying, but we'll probably just check. It's probably just something slightly different. And I've forgot a lot of the language to describe it, to be honest. I do find it pretty insane that you can basically split your GPU in half. I mean, if you get a 5090, it's got 32 gig of RAM. You could have two 16 gig of GPUs, and your processor or the 9900 between 12 and 16 cores each. I just wonder how you could make that work, like resourcefully, in a house with two people. Then maybe you'd route a display cable into another bedroom and a wireless keyboard, or go through one tower. Just keep it cool. Yeah. I think the thing with AI, like you said, it's a beast at the minute, but also, the first point being, you just don't want to even learn, because it's like you can feel like you're too old if you're an adult, you know. But also, I feel like if I learn the technology by the time I'm an amateur, it's out of date. And it's never been like that until the last, I don't know, 3 years maybe even the last year or two. No, you've got more than 8 cores, right? Is it 8 cores, 16 threads? Oh, I didn't realise that. Okay, it makes a bit more sense now. Just the whole marketing thing. And the 9900, I bet it's got more than double, right? Oh, 12 cores, okay. Just 24 threads. And the 9950 is the one with 16 cores. I've had a 5900X, which I guess would have been 12 cores. I had a 5800. I just sold a lot because I'd get a computer, then I'd get bored. I'd sell it, I'd go abroad for a month, come back, need another PC. And this is why I have a laptop. And I haven't sold anything since I got a laptop. Yeah. The thing is that you might be in a place, well, I'll say this about me, like sometimes I want to upgrade and I'm not really maxing out what I've got. It's more of just like, I'm annoyed that if I got really deep into my learning, I would need the other thing. Like I don't really need a new laptop, but I'll probably do it. But now that I know it's only 8 cores, 16 threads, because there's probably not really any games that will use more than 8 cores. And that's the logic. That's why all your consoles have 8 cores. Let me see. Which PC games use more than 1 core? more than 2, etc. up to 16. Give me a table. Then another table for consoles. I don't know if this data is out there, to be honest. It will give an answer for sure, but it might just be guessing. Skyrim will use 1 or 2 cores, primarily designed for single thread. The Witcher 3 is 4 cores. That was probably quite cutting edge at the time. Assassin's Creed 6. Cyberpunk. See, that is real coding. But I wonder how they do that, to be honest. 12 to 16 cores, simulation. Yep. Yeah, exactly. And AI is also going to be your GPU memory. Why has it done my table wrong? PlayStation 4 is 8 cores, PlayStation 5 is 8 cores. So do you have Visual Studio or VS Code, Python? Why don't you, I don't know if you've coded yet, but you should set yourself a task of making like I mentioned earlier, a Jarvis application launcher. So you just talk to it and you tell it what to do. So you talk to your computer and you say, hey, load up Google Chrome or load up Instagram or send an email to so-and-so. You could do that quite easily. Okay, give me code to make a Jarvis AI app in Python to launch Windows apps, voice activated, succinct. Nice. Like, I haven't touched Python for ages, but I could probably do this now, really. Okay, so this is import with Python brings in libraries, so that's how you bring in speech recognition. SR is what you're gonna, that's how you're going to reference it. Initialize text to speech, so, which is text to speech, TT, text to speech must be. Dot it, initialize, and then that whatever gets initialized, you now use engine to reference it. Rate maybe the speed, and now you're giving some references. So it's saying if you use the word notepad, it will mean this. I've never done this, not with applications. I've done it with a website. I remember this when it's listening. The recognizer. Look, that's it. That bit of code, and you're creating a voice activated prompt. You could even control a game, you could make something that controls a game, like you play Command and Conquer or Civilization, a slow to medium game, not a shooter game, and you could just talk and tell it what to do, and just look at your 60, 70 inch TV in the lounge, and just play it on the sofa with your voice. If you did that, and you streamed it all live, making it, you'd create a big YouTube channel. There'd be a lot of interest in that. It'd be good fun. Now, if I do that in C++, I will have to go to 5 different websites to download all these libraries that it was talking about here. Not in Python. It's just so much quicker. Yes, what's a C++ solution? Yeah. You're in the States. Did you say you was in the States? So who shot JFK? Saw it was popping earlier. It was trending on Twitter, on it. Trump signing the executive orders. Yeah, we are. But I just went on a tangent. Was looking at some Python and talking about some latest hardware. But yeah. I think it was one of the more fun things I did actually. Coding the lights. What made me want to do my own VS? You mean my own engine, right? Purely for learning, just to learn. It was something I wanted to do. So when I was in secondary school, which means when I was a young teenager, so 15, I wanted to get into AI, and that was 20 years before you heard the word AI, and I just never did. And it's such a shame. When I got to college, I got all the grades and everything, but I didn't have any discipline, so I just dropped out, and I didn't have the mindset of consequence. And then I trained into I worked with some charities and stuff, and then I ended up leaving that in my early 30s, like now. And I thought, what was the other thing I wanted to do? So I came back to tech and spent 2 years learning C++ on and off. Did the 2D game, my first project, and then my second project is a 3D engine. So fun, learning, the challenge. I just feel like people waste so much time, and you could be learning. Like you can become competent at something in 2 years, and you can learn something else. You can have such a good skill set. That's why I tell most people that tune in, I always ask what are they working on or what's next, because some people don't get started. Actually, one of my tools, there's quite a lot in this engine. You wouldn't really think. I mean, there's not loads, but there's enough. Like for instance this. So you can create different views. I'm not sure what the purple is, that's not normally there. I might be able to do something with the water level. But the reason I did that was because as you see, when I generate terrain, I can choose, for instance, the height. So I spent a lot of time creating a terrain editor. Yeah, same with my photos. And streaming it just adds a bit of fun as well. So yeah, I was just saying about the different tools. Let me turn that log off. That's why it was going so slow. That's better. Excuse me. So this here, there's something in OpenGL called an SSBO, which is a buffer. So if you like load one tree in your engine, and then you want a 10,000 trees, if you have 10,000 objects, that's a lot of memory. But what you can do, an SSBO lets you load the one tree, and then it lets you have 9,999 copies with slightly different parameters, so different locations and different sizes, but the same tree. So here, I can load up that house, but it would give me 1,000, and then it would put it in random places. And then there's a button here, create SSBO for the y-axis, which means they won't just be completely random. They'll be on the 0 on the y-axis, in other words, on the land, on the floor. So they'll follow the terrain. But I've lost a tool. What happens with my workflow is I'll be working on a bug animation, and then I move things around, and I've not looked at some of this in months because I've not coded for 2 months. My shader manager here lets me just directly change the code of my shaders. So where you have this code, so shader is this is not C++, this is GLSL. So it's quite different. So it's another language. A shader is a program that runs on the graphics card rather than on the processor. But this code, I can just type it in here and add the shader, and I don't have to restart the program. So that's not technical, that was just like another little thing to add. Textures here. Let me see, rock.jpg. If I load up some rock. Now instead of the grass, I'll make it a bit lower again. We have rock. Let me move some things out of the way. And you can change the angle where it's blending. But I can have 5 different textures, so you can have the grass, and then a bit of sand, and a bit of rock, and then a bit of snow on top. Yeah, so I guess your question is coming off the back of what I said about the SSBO, like there's so many trees, but really it's just one tree, and then it's just it's rotated, and then it's 20% smaller, it's further away, it's not under the street light because it's further away, so it's not reflecting the light, so already it looks different, the wind's affecting it differently. That's one way. But then what you would have in a proper game, you'd have 5 different trees, or maybe even 20, and then there'd be like 50 of each. So then there's variance. That question's a trap for my single player game. Yes, IMG UI. I like that. I only just saw the IMG UI comment. What made you think I'm using that? Yeah, I don't know anyone who's got more IMG UI than me, except on the GTA 6 leak about 3 years ago. There was a lot of IMG UI, which, by the way, is the interface. I don't have any level of... Well, so OpenGL generates levels of detail, I think, on the mipmaps. Is that for textures? Yes. But I don't have any level of detail in models. But for anybody not understanding, is if you load a model and there's all these vertices, it's a lot to draw. So when something's further in the distance, you can get it to load a more simple version of it, where there's just 4 points for a wall rather than 1,000. So that's level of detail, or LOD. Although I did have a level of detail somewhere on something. Let's change some colors. So these lights moving about, I put those in just to check that different things were rendering. Oh, I've just lost the light. Can you still see me okay? More or less. Let me replace that light. Here we are, 1 second. I've got the LED light strips, light tubes, and it wasn't plugged in. Did anybody play Star Wars Galaxies? I sometimes type because when people come in, they would just see, if they go to the end and read the conversation and not listen to me, they will just think they won't get the answers. And also the lights here, I think I turn them off. There's a button to turn them off somewhere. So the lights still impact the scene, but you don't see them moving around. And also I can just stop them. And what this will do is, you see them stopping. And then somehow, yeah. But what I need in the engine once the animation is done is just so I can just actually, you see the red one moving here. That's the X, Y, and the Z. But in a more complete engine, you would just click it and move it, and that's not too hard to do. But it's not, the code's implemented here, because you see it working, but you can't click it directly. The Old Republic. Yeah, so that came after, right? Knights of the Old Republic. The MMO, right? Because there was the MMO and the non-MMO. Yeah, it was just nowhere near as good. I don't know how they ruined Galaxies. I think they put it on console, so they made it more friendly, like more generic, and it just destroyed it basically. Although I mean, I stopped playing after 6 months. Yeah, my brother like leveled that out. I'm still trying to find my tool, my favorite tool, where I can. So I started to show you some of the terrain. I can give like more detail to the terrain, more frequency of mountains, so a lot bumpier. But then I have a tool where I can just directly click the terrain and just drag it. And I don't know where it's gone. Imagine losing. And then I had another tool that allowed me to, I think it held the view. So one of those won't move and one will, I believe, yeah. And this was if you was editing things from different angles. It's like another window, basically. Yeah, so then you've got 3 windows. I think this didn't work. Oh, it kind of did. It should generate. Let's move those. Generate rivers. It just created like a little stream here that cut through. Let's go again. And generate river. It just cuts into the terrain. So you can see it's not working great. Generate different rivers. It's interesting because there might be. Let me get that off there. I mean, I don't know much about engines. I know more than somebody who doesn't make them, but I don't know much because you always think, no matter how dated it is, adding new graphics is probably not that difficult because this is going to sound a bit naive, but really you just load a better quality texture. So there's going to be an element where like a lot of the scene can always look better. That technology is just going to support higher detail textures and ray tracing. But then there's clearly different parts of the engine that just can't support the latest computer science, the latest graphic tech. Like the eyes on the models are insane. Like it just looks so bad. And if they didn't learn a lesson from Starfield, and if they have another Starfield incident, they're over, because they're already over now, and they've just got to deliver the new Skyrim, the new Elder Scrolls, and then they're saved. Everybody will forget. That'll be fine. But if they have 2 Starfield incidents, they might not even have money. I mean, you never know. They could have put themselves back 2 years. They could have looked. But They can't really get Elder Scrolls wrong, surely. You just need a bloke with an axe, throwing fireballs, a bit of lore. I don't even know if that model exists anymore. Actually, I quite like that terrain, what I've done there. It's very different to what I usually load up. Yeah, they got PTSD. I think I saw somebody say that. Generate cave. I think that just generates an hole in the... Yeah, it's just done a big hole. But these were just things I was just practicing. And I never deleted anything, so I just learned to make things. Ah, it might be here. No. I think this is some matrix data for the camera position. You know, I started playing. I bought somebody an Xbox recently, and I think the Series S or something. I'm sure there was you can stream or play Skyrim in the Game Pass. So we played Skyrim. I think it was Skyrim. Yeah, and Elder Scrolls Online. So I played it for a few hours. I just got back from 3 months of travelling on and off, and it was just very warm and I was depressed in England. And I went back to nostalgia, to Skyrim. So I need to edit the terrain. Terrain, let's find out. I want to know where those buttons are gone. This is it here, terrain pick and switch. What this tool did was you turn terrain edit mode on and all the grass and all the mountains, it goes purple, so it's almost like a, I don't know, it's like it becomes digitalized like Tron or something. It loses the texture. And then you can just click the pixels and drag it high and low and everything. And then just go back to the terrain, like terrain morphing basically. But what I was going to do was I would leave that as a tool in the game, like as your god, and you just can shape the world. Not that that's not a big focus, but as a god you could just do that a little bit. Kind of like Black and White, for those that played Black and White. Yeah. Terrain editing. And what's interesting is if you're making this kind of game where you're god, every one of these tools could be used maybe in a different way, but by the player. I mean, you're not going to change textures or load models, but you can give the player a lot of power. Terrain picking. Oh, don't tell me this is it and I took it out. No. Why would I do that? Spiffing Brit, is that a YouTuber or something? I do. I just do it for free. If everybody wants to hit subscribe, I'd appreciate that. And you don't have to come back. I'd love you to come back. But it just tells the algorithm to it promotes the channel. Let's do that. When I get 500 subs, then the channel goes to the first tier of YouTube channels. And you can send me money for coffees that I'll buy beer with. I know what's happening. I've not gone onto my Twitch. I always ignore Twitch. Let me say hi. King KBP, do you have any coding tools? Yeah, I figured you subscribed because you came back as soon as I streamed. So appreciate that. Terrain pick and switch. That's what I need to look for. So there'll be some user interface that turns that button on and off, and I just can't find where that button is. On the screen. There it is. Look, terrain tool. Okay, let's see if this is ever drawn. What's this function called? Terrain edit UI. So probably I've cancelled that out. Yep. That's why it's not drawing it. I can code. Yeah, that might cause some errors because there would have been a reason that I cut that out. I think it was this bug actually. And then I forgot about that. Brother, get Visual Studio. It's free. I'm going to link you. Visual Studio community. Okay, well this looks a bit different. Yeah, so it's called a comment. It comments it out. You probably know that. But actually, I think maybe 3. No. Maybe Python. Is Python 3 or you just do 1? So 2 slashes comments it out. Or if you do a slash and the star, then everything between those two will be commented out. So all of that. Otherwise, you have to do it on every line. But I'm glad I went off on a tangent because now I should have that back somewhere. Excuse me. Too much water. But I think first I think those buttons will come now once I've got some terrain. Yeah, so it's gone to the function. It might crash. Okay, let's find it. Okay, there it is. I don't know if it's going to work. Let's find out. Create physics terrain. And then there's a button that turns the terrain editor on. And then when it's on, these buttons work. Okay, let's go to that. So edit terrain. Wait, what did we have before the switch? Okay, that's what I need. Terrain tool on off. Okay, so there is a button on the screen being drawn called terrain tool on and off. Where is it, homie? Oh, this is it, yeah. No, it don't work. There's some sort of error now when I click. So I broke it somehow. Yeah, it's not flashing now, and then when I turn that on, it's flashing. Not such a shame. There's no way I commented those things out one at a time. what happened was something broke, and I went to fix it. I commented that out, and then I forgot. And the truth is, I was in the Middle East, in Israel, in the war, and was being bombed every other day. And then I just forgot about that and probably moved on to the next thing. I was just a tourist, and I got stuck there for a while. That's why I had 2 months off when I came home. Okay, if I press that button, it's just gonna not work. Okay, can you believe it worked? Now that was worth seeing. Somebody needs to hit subscribe to that for that. Okay, so there's a reason I commented that out, and I don't know why. Yeah, I don't like to get political, so I didn't want to mention it, but... Oh, and that's pretty cool as well, at the top right. So this, what you're seeing at the top right, is... This was connected to how I was creating reflections. Because the way it works, might crash. And let me turn the grid off. How do we get all this back to normal? Don't use the word normal. Yeah, but someone might assume anything. I'm a soldier, I have a political position. But yeah, that's why I clarify that I was a tourist. Okay, so just this thing at the top right, you see that's like a strange thing. This is a separate texture. It's completely different to the world. Like if I move up, that will stay there. And what's happening is it's the engine is almost taking a photo of this top part, and it's sticking it here onto a separate texture. And then you could put that texture on a house. It could be the side of the house. That's like a JPEG. But then you take that texture and you map it onto the surface of this flat texture here. You color it blue, you make it ripple, and it's basically how you start to create reflections. And then there's a second texture to the left. Yeah, I couldn't see that at first. One is under the water, one's above. And you just don't need to see those. And this is what's rendering it. I believe render user interface, so I'll take that off. Yeah. But actually what was happening was I'd be on stream, and then every night, I think there was a siren a few times, or you could hear noise in the background. But let's do this. And then, actually this was quite fun. So sometimes, like when you click it, it tells you where you've clicked, but you click underneath. And it's just fun as the developer to see that even the user interface that you're clicking has a nice little ripple. You're like, oh, that's cool. Because you don't code for that, it's just the engine. But then I could, where's it gone? You could say a circle brush. And you need to change the size, so it's probably too big, as you can see. And also circle radius maybe. So now I don't know why it's doing 2. Maybe that was part of the error that I was looking at. And then what I showed you earlier, you remember I created, actually this is probably where the problem was. So what we're seeing here is what this land looks like in normal mode. So it's like a preview tool. That's why I was creating some different windows. So you still had the real world here. You can see it's quite messy. I've gotten like ahead of myself a bit. You might say a square or a flatten brush, and you would change the size. So then this is your flatten your terrain. And the color of the sun. The sun brightness, the time of day. Circle brush. I think there was a thing. Oh, I have to go into terrain mode. And the size. Relative height, maybe this was it. What's letting this down is just the texture that I'm using. I just need to download a ripper better texture. And then actually, if you see here next and previous, I actually had a undo and a redo, which is quite a powerful tool. And also, once you got some general code knowledge sort of built up, I didn't Google or YouTube how to do it. I didn't ask ChatGPT. You're just saving the terrain in a vector in memory, and you're creating a backlog basically, and going back and forth through them. It was good fun. And here I am stuck on crappy animation. What was point brush? That's a strange effect. You see that? What is that to do with this? I have no idea what kind of error that is. Am I drawing everything twice? It's fixed. No, it's not. Yeah, I think it's rendering everything twice. Fun times. Yeah, you're talking about the music I've got on. Actually, I think the reason I put this track on is it just reminded me of when I was in the Middle East. It reminded me of my few months there. Follow character. Okay, so now the character's completely. So I've got some controls so we can move around the scene. But the character is here. I think it's falling through the world. It's indicated here, yeah. So when I press follow character, we're just falling. Excuse me. Okay, it's been fun, guys. This was my non-planned stream. And what is that on the bottom of the screen? Okay. Yeah, it was good to talk. It was good to talk old games and processors. But in the next 3 days, tell me what you started coding, and then we'll get some people following, subscribing you. It sounds like you've got a good processor. What was your GPU if you're still there? Let us know next time, if not. Don't waste all those cores. Okay, I'm not in back, so I'm going to say goodnight. And once again, hit subscribe. My stream software tells me there's 6 watching. And yeah, I'll appreciate that. Good night.